Thanks for watching Numbskull News, and today we're getting back into the college realignment talk, and I'm going to focus on 2023 and the Big 12. So what is in store for the Big 12 in 2023? I think big things. I think they're going to start adding those Pac-12 schools. Now, the reason I'm saying that is, there's been a lot of speculation on the Pac-12 and the new TV deal that's going to be coming up when? January, February, March. You know, the timelines are all over the place. And if you haven't been paying attention, Commissioner George Kliavkoff, that's such a stupid name, but he's a bullshit artist, straight up a bullshit artist. I mean, yeah, you're holding up the TV deal because of Dion, that kind of shit. So now he's saying, well, we got to get some ducks in a row, and then probably somewhere around February, late March, we ought to be able to get something done. Really? I mean, look, the Big 12 opened up their early negotiations, and then like less than a month later, they had a deal with Fox and ESPN. Less than a month. We're talking 6 months now that the Pac-12 have been in early negotiations, and it hasn't really produced jack shit, has it? Mainly because I don't think those negotiations are going very well. Now, there's been some speculation. I think it's the Sports Business Journal or some bullshit like that said that their deal is going to be somewhere a little bit more than the Big 12 deal. That's, I don't know. I know it's a reputable place, the Sports Business Journal, and they should be taken seriously. That's fine, but again, what is the holdup? What the fuck is the holdup for this new TV deal? I mean, it doesn't take 6 months to figure it out. But let's just say, that ends up being true, and they have to basically sacrifice a hell of a lot of exposure, which is huge, man. I mean, just in terms of recruiting. I mean, if you're a big-time 5-star recruit, do you really want to get lost on Amazon, or do you want to be in big games on ESPN and Fox? I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. And I know there's NIL. I mean, Oregon can pay their players like a son of a bitch, but that's not the only way you can get money from name, image, and likeness. There's also endorsements, and there's millions of dollars to be made from endorsements. Now, if you're some big time Coca-Cola, if you're Gatorade, Powerade, whatever, do you want a player that's exclusively on Amazon, or you rather sponsor a player that is being seen nationwide, on ESPN, on NBC, Fox, CBS, all the usual suspects? So players have to take that into account, and I guarantee you it's going to be a lot tougher on a lot of those teams that don't have Deion Sanders as their head coach to start getting those type of recruits. So that's just one of many factors of what's going to lead teams to say, you know what, screw this, let's go to the Big 12. And like I said, 2023 is going to be a damn exciting year. I can't wait to see who the Big 12 poaches out of the Pac-12, and it's going to happen. So I started pondering, who's going to be the first team or teams to drop? Who's going to come in here? And I thought, you know what? Let's do a tier list. Now, I've done a few of these tier lists before, but that's always been from the perspective of a fan, right? Or, what I think the Big 12 should do, who they should go after. However, this time I'm going to say, okay, what are the odds, right? Because there's teams out there that absolutely don't want to go to the Big 12, and there's other teams that are open to it. And there's teams I think that would love nothing more than to get a nice big fat invite for a New Year's gift. So let's start with one of those teams. Oregon State, our good friends, the Beavers, would absolutely love an invite, and they would jump all over it. Because even if the money is slightly more in the Pac-12 with Amazon, it's still Amazon. And I know, look, they'll probably do an app, right? That's been some of the speculation. They're going to have an app. They are nowhere near to the level of ESPN or Fox or any of these other places. They don't have the exposure right now. Maybe in a decade they do. Right now they don't. Oregon State is one of the teams that's been left for dead, right? Just you're going to go to the Mountain West more than likely. The security is what's going to sell them. They want to know that they're not going to end up in the Mountain West. They're a Power 5 school. They want to stay that way. If you offer them, they'll come. They'll come right now. And I actually think the probability of them coming to the Big 12 is extremely high. In fact, I'm putting them in my S tier. I think they are the most likely team to jump ship and go to the Big 12. And the same can be said for Washington State. Both these teams, I mean, they just kind of fit. They fit in the Big 12. They compete like crazy. They don't think that their shit doesn't stink. All right, they're humble programs. They would love nothing more than to be in the Big 12 and compete there. And both these teams can compete. It wouldn't shock me at all if Oregon State or Washington State, in their first 4 or 5 years of Big 12 membership, won the Big 12. I got to put them on the S tier. I mean, if you think about it, you add those two teams, it's not too far-fetched to go get Gonzaga, because now they got a couple reliable travel partners. Now, there's also been a lot of speculation about San Diego State. All right, I would be very interested in San Diego State. However, this TV deal that we have, the Big 12 has, it's not going to cover Group of 5 schools. That is San Diego State. Theoretically, can you talk to ESPN? Maybe they'll, hey, we know it's only for Power 5, but San Diego State, blah, blah, blah. Maybe outside chance, but I just don't see it happening. I know a lot of people on YouTube and elsewhere are speculating about it and say that's still a chance. I just don't see it. Because of that, I have to put them on the F tier. Now, this is not a knock against San Diego State. I would love to see them in the Big 12. However, as I said before, I think there's going to be some problems getting ESPN to pay their way into the Big 12. Arizona is interesting. Now, people have said they want to go to the Big 12, but they don't want to go by themselves. They need someone to go along with them for whatever reason. I don't know. They're shy. I really don't get it. But I do think there's still a damn good chance they end up here. And I think that the Big 12 is going to make a big push for them. And not so, football and the time zone they're in, fine. It's basketball. All right, this is the elite basketball conference. The number one basketball conference is the Big 12. Arizona would be an amazing add to that. And that's why the Big 12 is going to make a big push for Arizona. And I do think ultimately, because this phantom TV deal with Amazon may not be as good as everyone thinks it is. And because if it was going to be that legit and that good, it would have been done by now. So Arizona, I think they're right there. I think they're going to show up. Now let's talk about Cal. Cal wants no part of the Big 12. They love themselves a lot, and they think of themselves as, some elite shit. And they see the Big 12 as, as I think I've used this metaphor before, a trailer park, and not a nice one, but like a really shitty, rusted out propane tank type of trailer park. And frankly, I wouldn't want them in the Big 12. They suck at football. Yeah, they got great academics. Okay, well, stay out there and have your great academics. Enjoy your, hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. Now you're having to be subsidized by UCLA because you suck at business. You suck at running a university. Screw Cal. We talked about Arizona. Let's talk about Arizona State. I do think the Big 12 is going to make a push for them. They're going to, they may even get an offer. However, I don't know that Arizona State really wants to jump. At least that's the word going around. For whatever reason, they want to stay in the Pac-12. I say screw them, let them rot, and we don't need them. I'm way more interested in Arizona than Arizona State. And to me, having both of them is kind of redundant anyway. You only need one team out of Arizona. But I'll give them a C chance because, like I said, I think the Big 12 is going to make a push for them. But, whether they accept it or not, that's up for debate. Old Stanford, kind of like Cal, I would like to have Stanford in the Big 12. However, I don't know that they're all that open to it. Slightly, maybe, but I don't know. I don't see them doing it. I think they smell themselves a little too much. We're just not high tone enough for them. I'll put them on the D tier, and that's only because if I'm, like I said, I don't know about this Amazon deal. I don't know that it's going to be as good as everyone thinks it is. Like I said, I think it would be done by now. And if it's that shitty of a deal, and Stanford has nowhere else to go, they may end up jumping to the Big 12. But that I don't give it a great chance. Well, how about Oregon? How about that's probably the best football school left in there. I know Utah fans think one thing or another, but no. Oregon is the best football school left in the Pac-10 or Pac-12, whatever you want to call it. They are a national brand, period. Not a blue blood, but they're, one tier down from that. As I said with Stanford, it would take a really shitty Amazon deal for them to jump to the Big 12. And even then, would you get to keep them to 2031? Would they sign the grant of rights? They might. But at the end of 2031, will they stay? If they can get to the Big 10, no, they won't. They won't stay. Let me be clear on this. In 2031, if any of the Big 12 schools get offered to go to the Big 10 or the SEC, of course they're going to go. And you couldn't blame them. Wouldn't blame Oregon. Wouldn't blame anybody. But it's actually realistic for Oregon to get an invite. It's not realistic for TCU or Baylor or Oklahoma State or Iowa State or West Virginia or any of these other schools in the Big 12. It's not realistic for them to get an invite. It's realistic for Oregon. I do think Oregon will hear from the Big 12 Commissioner's Office, but I think it's a C-level chance that they actually take the offer. Next up is Washington. Now, everyone kind of puts Oregon and Washington together all the time. I don't know. They seem to have a rivalry. I don't think there's a lot of hate between the two schools. But, are they really tied at the hip? Or is that like a media concoction, right? Because they're the two biggest programs nationally. Everyone kind of just throws them together. I don't know. I know they've worked together, especially in this realignment process. But are they really that tied in the hip? I don't know. I don't know. Because let's say the Big 12, they're going to offer both of these. They're going to try to get both these programs into the Big 12. People in Washington may feel a little different than Oregon. I don't know. I just don't think that it's that tied at the hip. I know everyone seems to think it is. Would it really be shocking to see Washington and Washington State end up in the Big 12? I don't think it is. So really, for no good reason other than to be a bit of a contrarian, I'm going to put them in the B tier. I just don't think they're as tied at the hip. I'm questioning that. I'm questioning it. And Utah, whose AD said they are not leaving, even though it's not up to him. He doesn't run the whole shit. And I do think the Big 12 are going to make a big push for Utah. But are they going to go? That is up in the air. That is big time up in the air. Even Utah fans, I think, would rather stay in the Pac-12. They'd rather be on the Titanic than be on the freaking Starship Enterprise that is the Big 12. And maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think, B tier for Utah actually coming to the Big 12, I think that might actually be accurate. I just don't think Utah's in any kind of hurry to get here. Personally, I think they're fools for staying. I think it'd be stupid. I think Oregon and Washington have a legit chance one day somewhere, in the future to end up in the Big 10. Utah has no such chance. Period. Y'all need to get y'all's head out of your ass. And finally, there's Colorado. Now, this is what's got me excited. Why go after Deion Sanders, hire Deion Sanders? Why make all these great plans when Colorado is doing everything right as far as trying to get back to a competitive level in football? It hasn't been that way. 20, 25 years ago, Colorado was just a powerhouse in football. They were one of the best teams in the country every single year. But that was back when they were in the Big 12 and they gave a shit about their football program. It was prestigious. They went after the academics. You can go after both people. Colorado can be one of the better universities in the land educating young minds of tomorrow. And they can also have a hell of a football program. And they're taking every step possible to get back to a competitive level in football. Why would you do that in the Pac-12 when you haven't done it in 20 years? I'll tell you why. Because they're looking at a realistic jump to the Big 12. And the Big 12 is going to do everything they can to get them back. So they are A tier all the way. Now, if you follow my train of thought here, Oregon State, Washington State, Arizona, Colorado, I think those are the most likely teams to join the Big 12. Outside shot of Washington, outside shot of Utah. Oregon, even less than. Arizona State, they're just stupid. Stanford, I just don't think they're that interested. I think, if severe push came to shove, they may do it, but realistically, I don't think they see a fit here. Cal, the hell with them, and San Diego State would love to have them. And I think they would love to come here. From everything I'm hearing, they'd rather be in the Pac-12. And if they want to, they're in California, they're in this shit show already. So let them stay there. We can't add them anyway. We can't get. I just don't see ESPN willing to fork over more money for San Diego State. So 2023 is going to be a big year for the Big 12. Yeah, college realignment ain't done. It ain't done by a long shot. The Big 12 is going to get real active real soon. Can't wait to see what ultimately happens. And that's just what I think, as far as percentage chances, that's what this whole tier list was all about. And frankly, if those are the 4 teams that jump, would love to see it. Love to see it. Anyway, that's all I got on this crap. I'll be back with some other crap later. Bye.